So hello guys, and this is Kat Fonte of Muse Skillshare Workshop. And so we are here with Francesco Fonte. He's an Italian journalist. He's going to be talking a bit more about his experience with video and interviews. So I'm going to have him take the floor now. He's going to introduce himself.
Hi everybody. As many of you, I love cameras, images, and recording my most valuable experiences. I started with using the cameras when I was very little. My father had a very big camera, and I was like 12, and I was recording pretty much everything. And then little by little I kind of tried to learn sharpening my camera skills and try to understand what is really valuable for me and what isn't. In this talk that I'm having with you guys, I would like to underline the importance of also technical skills. Like, for example, you don't want to shoot in a wrong format or in a format that it's too big. Checking your cameras, what format are you recording in. The best thing is you record something, like you try out how it works first as a file, if it's too big or whatever, and whatever it is that you're doing, always try it first, like import it on your computer. Maybe your software doesn't read the file, maybe you have problems with converting the files, so be aware that with cameras and computers there's always a possibility for problems. So problem solving and patience, which I don't have so much in fact, but still problem solving is a key part in camera, in recording, in videos. As a journalist, Katrina mentioned that I'm a journalist. I was working in a TV and also press agent and also in a web TV, so I kind of saw different aspects of the same thing, that is communication, in this case more TV oriented. I think that journalism is kind of different from what you're trying to do with the news project, also what I'm trying to do, because I'm gonna make my own little project. In this case, for example, I was doing another video in a square that is very famous for multi-ethnical diversity here in Rome, and I met this woman, Chinese woman, that I got interested in because she looks interesting, and she also looks interested in being featured in a video. So I suppose in a video like this, in like Muse project, it's important to feature people that like to be featured in a video. So it's important that you care about the personal relationship that you have with these people. In many cases in journalism, it's not quite the same thing, because you have to follow the news, and sometimes you have to interview people who don't necessarily want to be interviewed. So the skills that you develop as a journalist are kind of different. For example, you really have to get the picture and get the statement, and you really have to fight for it. In this case, you're doing a more virtuous use of the camera, because you're giving voice to something or somebody that you think they deserve to speak and to appear for what they are, for real, so not just a news report. So aside from the technical skills and understanding the problems that can arise out of formats, converting files and all this, it's important that you also take care of the little details, which are not in fact details, because they are the base of recording. So you have to have camera battery charged, possibly 2 batteries, and you always have to, for example, I was traveling in the Balkans during a hitchhiking trip around the Balkans, and we were sleeping pretty much anywhere, and every time we found an electricity power, we were like, oh wow, finally we can plug the computer and edit, because I was doing editing on the spot. So obviously when you're so much in a hurry, the result is not the best, but still it was more like a performance, saying that you can make 10 videos in 2 months if you really work hard and if you really focus on what you have to do. In this case, we were looking for interviews, we were looking for stories, at the same time as looking for a place to sleep, looking for a place to go, so it was very intense days. So in your project, in your personal projects, and I saw already that there's so many different views I'm very interested to see how it turns out. For example, there were some questions in some groups concerning the use of music, which is very important. I said in that post that for me, in a situation like this, I would suggest to use music made by a friend of yours. There are tons of people that we know nowadays with computers and everything who make music, and I think it's valuable in a project like this to add a personal touch rather than using music that's famous, or also for copyright things, but not only for the copyright. I think it's nicer to use personal, to give a personal touch to what you do. What is it, Kathleen?
No, I think it's also important to label your files. Make sure that the date and the time, the location, the subject, you have to name and put them in proper folders. Back in the time when people were recording with tapes on their cameras, they would actually really need to kind of write down on each camera tape what they recorded in it. Otherwise, all of your files just get lost and you just don't remember where they are and how you can find them. So, very important note to organize your files well so you know where to find them properly and to avoid any confusion.
I think the first thing that defines a professional cameraman or video producer is in fact the archive. I mean, Katrina is very right in saying this, but it's not really such a long time ago. I mean, I work with cameramen for TV, for video things in general, that have everything that they filmed is in their rooms, because it can always be useful in the future. So obviously if you're a professional, it can be useful also because you can sell the things. But aside from this, it's very important to archive and to have everything available in case you need it. So on the hard drives, remember, hard drives are not perfect. Sooner or later they die. So if you really care about what you shoot and the stuff that you have the hard copy, if there is a hard copy like the tapes, or put it in your hard drive, in your computer, put it in as many places as possible. And remember, yes, to label it properly, because otherwise you won't find it. Right now I'm attending a course on photography done by very good photographers, and for example they were saying that sometimes they were commissioned works. One specific example was this photographer was commissioned a work on hats, and he had big problems finding his pictures, and obviously took thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures in his career, and he had problems finding pictures with hats, because obviously there was no tag in the photos that he took with hats. So think of everything. If there is something particular about your film, something particular about your shot, so if it's a sunrise, it's a sunset, it's a mountain, try to put as many tags as possible
I don't
in
know.
an easy way.
That could be very useful, but it only depends if you are serious about doing a lot of videos or making a career out of producing multimedia that involves not just videos but photographs, or if you're a designer. So proper organizing of your files. Yes, you can get really intense and OCD with the filing of your stuff, but that can take up a lot of your time as well. So what I do, the way I file my files, we'll be discussing more of that in actually the next lesson, which is about editing, and I'll involve a lot of discussions on proper sorting of your files and organization. Anyway, the way I do it is I put the date, I put it by year and by date, and not just the date, I also put the location, because that's what's more relevant to me. I remember what's going on if I can see like, oh, that's the time where we went in this place, and yeah, I remember there were lots of shots of fish or lots of shots of like trees. So those are more, that's what's relevant to me. So if you think you're going to be more serious about your video making, and if you want to be a full-time producer of multimedia content, then you will seriously consider a proper organization, and that will be very useful for you forevermore. Any more thoughts, Frank?
Well, I think it's very important that by now you have your idea and your project, and you already contacted your muse, if it's a person, so that you have everything scheduled already. so that you have also time to edit, and if you have any problems, like I said before, if you lose all your files, which happens, so don't panic if it happens. I'm sure it won't, but if it does happen, don't worry, you can record it again. And that's why it's important to record the interviews as early as you can, so that you can actually add some things if there are some things lacking. It's very important that you think of your questions beforehand, and you think what you want to say, what you want to tell with your video, so that you focus on the most important things that are more relevant for your videos. Because this video is, like we said several times, it's kind of short, but it's not really so short if you want to be inspirational, if you want to keep the attention of the viewer. So it's important that you focus on what you want them to tell you, and you discuss with them, with your muse, and you have time to edit it, and I think it's gonna go smooth if you have some time. If you're in a hurry, it's just too risky. So this is what usually happens when you're in a hurry. I think that's all.
All right, that was very valuable.
Very valuable.
Very valuable. No, that was very good to know. Also because of your experience with low budget and traveling and having to capture at the moment when it's happening. And that's a very journalistic approach, and surely you can find a middle ground between the journalistic and the creative, because there are some benefits from actually being there, not having to think too much about what you need to do. There are benefits to having that kind of attitude when you're creating your videos. So yes, thank you for...
One last thing, since she was talking about shooting and everything, if you can, always think of the light where you're shooting. So possibly if you're shooting outside, be careful with the light and also with the sounds, because it's very important. If you don't have a microphone and you shoot in a crowded place and the people are too distant, and then you don't hear very well, the sound is crucial. It's not easy. Sometimes people who make video kind of underestimate the importance of recording properly the sound, so be careful with that. Said this from a webcam, so
yes,
you can do it everywhere. All right.
Right now we're at Macro Museum, and this is this is probably where the best Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi in the world. No,
I don't think
only
so.
not in
no.
the world. No, just,
the best Wi-Fi in the street.
No, just here in in this neighborhood.
All right.
Okay, see you guys
Thank
soon.
you.
We'll be making some more lectures for you. We're really working hard to making this as worthwhile for you to listen to and to watch. I'm currently perfecting the PDF sheet for you to have and print out, so that you don't have to always log on to watch the videos. So just hang in there, be patient with me. I am really doing my very best. We are doing our best to make this worthwhile. So yes, stay tuned for more, and thanks again for tuning in.